It's a zero-sum game. And the question is, why? I've constructed an exercise to illustrate why it's a zero-sum game. I've already explained to you verbally, but I think going through the motions of seeing a metaphorical transaction between country A and country B using different currencies is going to help a lot. Volunteers to be country A. All right, Luke, country A. Nolan, come up and be country B. Luke is metaphorically all of the people and businesses and government of country A. Country A deals in a currency of floppy disks. We're going old school here. I found them in the cupboard somewhere. I don't even have the ability to read those anymore. Country B. Country B deals in a currency of pens. I just happen to have these laying about. They function perfectly for our exercise. The exchange rate, that's a good question, Luke. That's an excellent question. The exchange rate is 1 floppy equals 3 pens. We're going to be dealing first in the current account. And if we're dealing in the current account, what is going to be bought and sold? What? Goods and services, or as we like to call them, things and stuff. It just so happens that country B makes the finest globes in the world. And when I say globes, this globe represents all of the things and stuff made in country B. Whether it's hair cream, carpet shoes, laser beams, you guys get it. All of those things, all of the goods and services made in country B are metaphorically, symbolically represented in this globe. Luke just so happens to be in the market for a globe. Do you know how much do globes cost in the market in country B?
I'll go with 2 profits.
Oh, in my market?
So 6 pens.
Why don't we go 9 pens?
9 pens?
9 pens. This globe costs 9 pens. Luke, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you have 9 pens?
I don't have 9 pens.
How are you going to buy a globe that costs 9 pens if you don't have any pens?
Well, I hope he's going to accept my floppy disk.
He is not going to accept your floppy disk. However, there's a thing called the foreign exchange market, and I will serve as the bank that operates this exchange. The current market exchange is 3 pens for $1. If this globe costs 9 pens, how many floppies? I said $1, didn't I?
Yeah.
I meant 1 floppy. If this globe costs 9 pens, how many floppies are you going to need to transact through me into your economy in order to conduct this transaction?
Calculator from history.
That is absolutely correct. So why don't we see how this works? The 3 floppies enter the foreign exchange market and go to country B. Country B then has to find a supplier of pens that want to trade with him for this to function. 9 pens. Here you go. You are now in possession of 9 pens and how many floppies?
I got 2 floppies and 9 pens.
Minus 3 plus 9. Minus 9 plus 3. Now,
And the globe.
you haven't purchased the globe yet. You've only gone through the foreign exchange transaction, which is why we've accounted the way we have. With the next step of the transaction, you can purchase the globe. Luke, would you like to purchase a globe now?
I guess because I have all these pens.
And they're no use to you in your country. You can't go to the store and buy things with pens. That's crazy. You ready to trade?
But I
Yeah.
Sell the man a globe, sir. Okay. So now let's count what's happening. Does he have any? Does he have any pens left?
No.
No pens? And he got his 9 pens back. However, what's he sitting on now that's of no use to him in his own domestic economy?
3 floppies.
3 floppies. Enter what country A is good at making? Sunscreen. Everybody needs sunscreen because skin cancer is no joke.
Biomarker syndrome.
This sunscreen is a metaphor for all of the goods and services produced in country A that are for sale to the world, and it's also the total sum of goods and services that country B will be purchasing from country A. And it just so happens that Luke sells these for 1 floppy apiece. And it just so happens that Nolan is in the market for 2 cans of sunscreen. Do you need to go to the Forex market right now?
Yes. Oh, no, because you'll accept my floppy.
Remember, these cost 1 floppy apiece, which is a total of 2 floppies. Do you have floppies?
I have floppies.
It just so happens you do, so you don't need to go to the Forex market, do you? Would you like to sell them these cans of sunscreen? You wanted to know? You wanted to sell them because that's what you do for a living.
That is what we do.
All right. How many floppies? How many floppies did you get back?
I got 2 floppies.
Plus 2, bringing you to a total of how many?
4 floppies.
You have 4 floppies and a globe,
And a globe.
and you have 10 pens and 1 floppy.
Well done.
And 2 cans of sunscreen.
And 2 cans of sunscreen, which is important. The important thing to note at this point is that we're closing our current account for the year. This is the end of current account. There's a trade imbalance. Given the current exchange rate between these 2 economies, there's a trade imbalance at the end of the year, and the trade imbalance is represented by the floppy disk that Nolan is still holding. Nolan does not want to buy any more sunscreen. He's bought all the sunscreen that his country and his fellow countrymen require for the year. Yet he's still sitting on this floppy that is worthless to him in his country. Not only because it's literally worthless because it's a floppy disk, but because his currency is pens and he only spends pens. So what can he do with this floppy disk other than drop it on the ground?
Invest it!
He's going to invest it, which is how the current account is connected to the financial account. The imbalances created in the current account are what manifest as the financial account to create a balance and an equilibrium in the economy as a whole. Nolan, do you want to buy a 10% share of the sunscreen company?
Sure.
Is this in his interest as an importer of sunscreen?
Yes. Sure.
As an importer of sunscreens, owning a financial stake in that good and or service that you import is directly in your interest. You benefit from it, you feed your own wealth by continuing to buy it. It makes perfect sense. Everyone's a winner.
Well, and it helps secure that import.
It will help secure that import, absolutely. If you guys want to go back and talk about Woodrow Wilson and the 14 points and the impetus that he placed on free trade, marrying nations peacefully to prosperity, is there any threat of war between the United States and China? And I know technically there is a threat of war over Taiwan, but I mean realistically, do you go to bed at night fearing the Chinese army crossing the Pacific? No, we don't. You guys don't fear China. You're like, what are they going to sell me next? I love China. All right. So now we've entered the financial account, and as the floppy comes home, no tangible object returns to country B. Just papers, stock certificates that say that businesses and or individuals and or the government of country B now own a stake of the sunscreen factory. Yeah. Is it beneficial if, let's say, Luke created an IPO for the sunscreen company and the purchaser came in? Does Luke care who does the financial investment in the business? Or will that currency that comes in help him invest and be more environmentally sustainable, more efficient production lines, a better quality product, being able to employ more people at greater output and grow the entire economy of this country for the long run? Both countries equally benefit from this setup because they are now interconnected. This is the essence of globalization. It's that the connection between current accounts, the trading of goods and services, is directly connected to the trade of financial assets as well. They are interconnected and they are inverse, as Nolan pointed out earlier. hop on back, you guys.
And in this situation, you said that like we were trading through an intermediary bank. That was you. In real life, who is that?
In real life, it is any entity willing to, any entity, an international bank, a government, etc., who's sitting on one currency and willing to exchange it for the other. I want to now introduce us to the place where currencies are exchanged, foreign exchange. We're going to call it Forex. Every year, kids are infinitely fascinated by Forex because it's kind of sexy. It's money for money. It's the world, it's a pure world of money. It's pretty cool. From a structural perspective, Forex is a simple supply and demand graph. But in order to move any further, there's a few points of interest that I want to hammer down technically to help you guys deal in Forex graphs and not make mistakes. The first is you have to identify what it is a market for. And in this case, because you are Americans and Amerocentric, I'm going to make this a market for dollars. But when I say it's a market for dollars, it's not actually a market for dollars, it's a market for dollar, singular. This is going to be a market that measures the value of $1. A dollar. So we have quantity of dollars traded as our horizontal axis, and our vertical axis is price, but it's price measured in terms of foreign exchange. So we have our exchange rate. Remember that I said this is a market for a dollar? Our exchange rate denominator is then going to be $1. The numerator is what we're measuring price in terms of. And in this case, let's do Japan. Japan and the United States. So this is the exchange rate for yen to the dollar. Because this is yen to the dollar, prices will be measured in yen. And in this case, let's say, just for the sake of convenience, that the current exchange rate between the dollar and the yen is 100 yen is equal to $1, a dollar. Correct. All right, there's a few things I'd like to point out now that you won't find in the textbook that are going to make this completely and totally understandable and easy to deal with from now on. We identified that this is a market for dollars. Therefore, what is the supply made out of? If you're going to a market for pizza, what is the supply?
Pizza.
Pizza. If you're going to a market for dollars, what is the supply? It's dollars. So when you look at this, and I'd like you guys to annotate when you take the AP test. I want you to annotate any Forex graphs you can using this system. The supply is dollars that want to be yen. Would a dollar be at market if it didn't want to be spent in Japan?
No.
That is what constitutes the supply of dollars in the Forex market, in a dollar market, are the dollars that want to be yen. And we know that it's the supply because this is a market for dollars, therefore it's the denominator. The supply in a dollar market are the dollars that want to be yen, and the demand are yen that want to be dollars. Implied in this is that are there people in America who want to buy things in Japan, whether that's goods and services or financial assets? And are there people in Japan who want to buy goods and services or financial assets in the United States? And in order to facilitate both exchanges, we have to have an exchange market. And that's what foreign exchange is. What controls the exchange rate are the factors that control how many Americans want to buy things in Japan. If more Americans want to consume in Japan, what's going to change about this graph?
Increase supply.
Gene, say that out loud, please.
Increase supply.
The supply curve will shift to the right. And as supply increases to supply curve 2, let's identify a cause. Why would Americans want to buy things in Japan?
Cheaper.
Cars. More PlayStations.
Okay,
That's why.
I like this right here. I like what Charles threw out. Charles said lower price level. And it's the idea of a lower relative price level. Did the tsunami and nuclear reactor meltdown decrease aggregate demand in Japan?
Yes.
In fact, let's just throw it up on the board real quick in a simple form to see what it probably looks like. We have aggregate demand, aggregate supply, our price level, and real GDP. As the tsunami devastates the infrastructure of significant portions of Japan and the radiation closed down other areas, the whole economy shrinks. People are purchasing less. Consumption, investment, government, well, the government spending is probably going up, but we're not going to get caught in those details. And as aggregate demand decreases in Japan, what we see is the price level falls, at the same time real GDP falls. If we can compare what's happening in the United States at the same time, has the stimulus package begun to work? Is the U.S. economy in growth? This morning on the radio, I heard that the U.S. economy will grow 3% in 2012, as opposed to 0% in 2011.
As opposed to what in 2010?
I think 2010 was like 1.9%. 2011 was considered a sputter. It was anticipated to be around 2, but it sputtered, it held still, and then this year we have pent-up demand. A lot of it has been inventory rebuild up. We're going to have 3% growth. So at the same time, while Japan's economy shrank, the American economy grew, or held the same, it doesn't matter. What matters is relatively. Relatively speaking with Japan, the price level in the United States was the same, but price levels in Japan went down, which means that Japanese imports in America got cheaper. And as Japanese imports in America get cheaper, guess what more Americans want to do? Buy things from Japan. And as more Americans want to buy things from Japan, it's going to have a direct impact on the value of the dollar. It's now only going to take 90 yen. Yes, trade volume went up, but the value of the dollar went down. It used to be that $1 was worth 100 yen. Now $1 is worth 90 yen. What would you rather have? 100 yen or 90 yen?
100.
Therefore, this is where the dollar is more valuable, because you got 100 yen for your $1, and now you only get 90. The dollar has depreciated against the yen.
So, not only is the dollar worth less, but we're also trading more with Japan. So doesn't that mean we're spending more of a devalued currency? Isn't that bad?
It's neither good nor bad, it just is.
Remember you said the money comes back.
Yeah.
Okay, think about it like this. Are the things and stuff you're buying from Japan cheaper?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
They are, because the price level, it was why the supply curve shifted to the right. The whole reason the supply curve shifted to the right was because the price level in Japan dropped.
Okay.
Eventually, you're going to have to reach equilibrium with a real equivalence of value in your economies.
So we're trading more, and we're spending more, but we're also getting more per.
In the beginning.
Okay.
And then as you continue to trade, you lower the value of your currency until you hit the breaking point where the discounts don't exist. You're absolutely right. The discounted Japanese goods and services disappear as the value of the dollar drops, and that's where we reach equilibrium.
Is that point?
It should be, yes. The market should function in equilibrium. It should be that point. All right, we're going to head to the board, and we're going to look at these in graphical form. Maybe. You guys, you have no idea what he just stumbled onto. Forex is driven by fads and trends as much as it is interest rates and price levels as well. And we're going to get all into it more as we go. Luke?
So kind of, you almost incorporated everything we've learned so far. So it's like a big whole culmination of everything we've learned plus more.
There's a reason we saved it for the end.
Because it was the end of that equation coming up.
We've got about 2 weeks to finish Forex in the open economy, And when we do, we've finished macroeconomics.
Yay!
Ship